What if it took a brain aneurysm and 2 emergency surgeries to finally make you listen to your body? That's exactly what happened to today's guest, Bea Healthier. And her story will help you change how you see success and self-care. Let's get started.
Yes, so in 2018, I experienced a brain aneurysm rupture.
Were you overweight when you had the aneurysm?
Yes, I'm only 5'2", and I was about 195 pounds when I had the
Okay.
aneurysm, and I had unregulated high blood pressure. Perfectionism is an all or nothing mentality.
This is From Wounds to Wisdom with Barbie Moreno. Real talk, deep healing, and stories that turn pain into power. Let's dive in. Welcome, Bea. Thank you for being on From Wounds to Wisdom. Excited to talk to you today, specifically because you and I have so much in common in what we went through in our life.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited about this conversation.
Yeah, definitely. So, when we had previously spoken, when I originally met you, you had a physical ailment, which we'll go into momentarily, that reminded me a lot of my story because in order for me to actually start shifting my life, I had to break my back. And so, your story is very similar and how dramatic it had to go in order for you to shift. So, can you go ahead and give us a little bit of your history and then your story and what created that shift for you?
Yes, so in 2018, I experienced a brain aneurysm rupture. Some of the ailments and experiences that I was having with my body, I spent most of my 20s and 30s dealing with high blood pressure, fibroids, and a lot of inflammation related to that. Horrible periods. Pushing through. I am an immigrant, came to the US when I was 19, hustled to learn English, go to college to build a career for myself, the family generics too. I neglected my body. I progressively got worse and worse. So the brain aneurysm rupture came as a combination of a lot of negative experience challenges with my body. If you know anything about brain aneurysms, if you do have a rupture, they're about 60% lethal. Thankfully, I'm alive. And after spending 20 days in the hospital, having 2 brain surgeries, one aneurysm rupture, thankfully, was the smallest one, but I had another one that they also treated. After that experience, I came out without any deficits. Usually, people experience a physical or cognitive deficit.
Yeah.
So the body that I felt so disconnected from, that I actually hated because it was giving me so much pain and struggle, took me through that journey, and I came out alive and okay. I decided after that experience that I was going to respect and love and treat my body well because my body was much stronger than I thought.
Yeah. And you're a high achiever, I'm a high achiever, and so we often do neglect our bodies, but I also think that the symptoms that you had were so similar to mine, right? So I had fibroids, I had very heavy periods and all of that, and ended up actually getting a hysterectomy at like the age of 30 through a hysterectomy too. Yeah, it's because I feel like specifically women, we wear so many different hats. And also we're trying to prove ourselves in this world. And so we often show up in symptoms physically, what our body and our mind and our soul is trying to tell us. And the only way it can show up is physically, right?
I also had a hysterectomy. I actually had my hysterectomy 2 months before my aneurysm rupture.
Mm.
Um, I had just been cleared to resume activities the week before
Wow.
um, I had my aneurysm rupture, which is very, very interesting. The only good thing about the whole experience is that when I went to the hospital, all my information was up to date because I had just.
If you want to look for a silver lining, you're like, well, I just
Yeah.
had a hysterectomy, so you guys have all my info.
Yeah, so I didn't have to do any forms. Everything was up to date.
Oh, well, I want to go into this a little bit because you don't end up getting into a place where you feel like you have to be a high achiever unless there's a history behind it, generally with women not feeling good enough or trying to prove themselves. What's your story behind the story?
Feeling good enough. Uh, has been a lifelong struggle. I think I'm very close to overcoming it now. I am the oldest child of parents that struggle with divorce. A lot of my father and my mother got divorced, got back together a couple of times. And I became the peacekeeper, the stabilizer, the mediator in any conflicts of the family. I felt like I needed to be perfect in order to not upset anyone because there was already enough happening in the family. And the way I felt that I could achieve perfection, because I was good academically, was going to school, doing well, getting good jobs, getting promotions, getting accolades that will bring pride and joy to my family.
What type of industry did you work in?
Work in social services. I started my career in the nonprofit sector, and I currently, besides having my business, I work as an executive for municipal government. So I work for the city of New York.
And what drove you to social work?
I've always been very curious about human behavior and what challenges people.
Yeah.
But when I was in college, I fell in love with psychology. I actually became a sexual assault advocate
Mm.
because I came across a lot of my classmates in school that had experienced date rape and other forms of sexual assault. And growing up, I was also had multiple experience of sexual harassment. Some forms of sexual assault. So I connected with that experience. So it felt like a way to take care of others, continue to take care of others, to go into the social impact, social service sector.
Sexual assault, it's so prominent. It's almost so normalized for women. What is your experience with women that you encounter who have been both harassed and or assaulted? And, what do you find in that? Because it's such a deep field.
Every single woman I know has been harassed at some point.
Yeah.
I am from the Dominican Republic. I grew up in Santo Domingo, and this also connects to the relationship with the body. They say a lot of women gain weight as a way to protect themselves from harassment. I started experiencing harassment at age 11 because I developed very early. And I couldn't go out of the house without being catcalled or somebody saying something to me, even though, I was 11, 12 years old.
I would say there's at least a 50% chance of you being sexually assaulted as a female as well. When you mention the weight part of it, this hits home with me because by the age of 24, I've shared this in my book. I don't know if I've shared it on a podcast. I was 315 pounds because I was sexually assaulted when I was younger. And to build the layers of fat, I felt like would protect me from people being attracted to me and taking advantage of me. But the problem is that you also have so low self-esteem that you pick the crappiest people, right? Because that's all you think you're worthy of.
Yes, yes. Yes, I can say that as well. Um, I have had two serious relationships and they both have been good men. But in the in between, when I was a teenager and after my first marriage ended, I did get involved with some people that did not value me or respect it. And when I think about some of the things that I have accepted, the person I am today cannot even believe that I thought so little of myself.
I work with these women who prove themselves. They prove themselves through action and doing and all of those different things, which is why they generally have some sort of a breakdown physically, mentally, emotionally, or all of the above. But what experience do you have when you're working with these women? What's the commonalities between them?
A lot of women, when they reach positions of leadership, I think sometimes it can be some level of guilt, especially a lot of the women that I interact with are first, the first one to go to college, the first one to launch a business, the first one to achieve a leadership role. So I think there's a little bit of guilt from standing out, a little bit of imposter syndrome. And I think in the process of struggling with that, the body becomes secondary and they become really detached from their bodies, whether it is from imposter syndrome. It's all about the brain, it's all about putting things in here. and neglecting the body.
Are you the type to believe that women have a very intuitive nature to them and that we often turn that off to live in this world as well?
Most healing therapy that really worked for me was somatic therapy.
Mhm.
And in that work that I did to reconnect with my body, which is interesting, I started somatic therapy maybe 6 months before the aneurysm, and I started group therapy the night before my aneurysm. And I said, I want to be more open-minded and more connected to people. And then I was joking with my therapist, like I should have been careful about the open
It's like, sure, let me give it to you all in one
because
whacker, right?
God opened me completely. But what I learned from connecting with my body is the many times that I muted my intuition.
Mhm.
How many times I had a no in my body and I pushed that through and I say yes to please others, to satisfy others. How many times I didn't feel safe with the person, but because there was nothing obviously wrong about that person, or that person was somebody of power that could help me in some type of way, I ignore those feelings of lack of safety.
Mhm.
So yeah, I think we're very intuitive, and I definitely believe from my experience that the body is definitely a channel to a connection to our intuition. The gut feeling is real.
It is real. I know that we sometimes get gut feelings through our programming, right? Because sometimes there's things in our lives that trigger us, and our gut takes over there going into survival mode. But once you determine the difference between the way that it feels, right? You learn to feel what is survival and then what is actually intuition. What is my you can call it your higher self, you can call it whatever it is that you want, trying to tell me in this situation. And then there's this like power in accepting it, because you can get the gut feeling, but if you don't accept it, it does you no good.
I've learned to trust, because any time that I have not followed my intuition, I have regretted it.
Hmm. Yeah, I agree 100%. I've spent many a relationships regretting it. I remember when my daughter's father, my husband, my ex-husband, is probably going to absolutely hate me if he ever sees these podcasts because I talk about him all the time. But I remember when I met him, I did not like him. I did not like him at all. He seemed very self-involved. And just the moment that I met him, and I ended up not going with that. And then, many years later, he ended up being exactly who I knew he was the minute that I met him. I mean, thank goodness I got my daughter out of him, but I knew immediately, and I didn't trust it. I just thought, I'm being judgmental, or, maybe there's more to him than I am giving him credit for. And even along the way, I just remember thinking to myself, like, I'll just keep pushing these feelings aside and keep going with it because I didn't have any value in who I was and what I needed. And, you let these people, and it's a matter of letting, right? Because we're responsible for ourselves, but we let these people teach us not to trust who we are.
I have experienced the same, not just in romantic relationships, but also in friendships.
Hmm.
I have had people that have welcomed into my life that are drawn to me and give me a lot of attention, that turn out to be, those vampires, those kinds of friends that just drain your energy and are not there looking out for you and with your best interests at heart. And I think it's harder sometimes to see that in friendships, especially if somebody's very physically present in your life, not necessarily emotionally. And it's harder to break up with a friend
Yeah.
sometimes. It is with a romantic partner.
Yeah.
But I'm learning now to be a lot more cautious. If I have that weird feeling about someone that may look like, a caring,
Right.
interested friend, I take my time.
And I agree. Like, I appreciate you saying the friendship part, because there is this like allowing friends to do things that we normally wouldn't like allow a partner to. I'd love to learn more about you.
I am a very optimistic, happy person. The experience of the aneurysm and my transformation has not been just physical, but emotional and spiritual. Overcoming health challenges, releasing the obesity, improving my health has made me bolder.
Hmm.
I have even, completed a couple of New York City marathons. I have,
Oh,
been promoted at work,
Yeah.
with a lot more ease than the hustle and push that I had before.
Right.
Carrying a lot more responsibility now. I also have my business that is teaching me to think differently and the
Mhm.
community of Be Healthier. And I'm just identifying different ways to be of service, elevate my life.
Were you overweight when you had the aneurysm?
Yes.
Like severely overweight?
Yeah, I'm only 5'2", and I was about 195 pounds when I had the
Okay.
aneurysm, and I had unregulated high blood pressure.
Right. And we all know that, especially for women, our hormones get out of whack when we're, stressed out. And so one of the first things we do, kind of, I think you said at the very beginning, is we start putting on weight. And then that becomes like a shame cycle,
Hmm.
right? Because we're often judged by our appearance and we judge ourselves. And then we put on more weight because then we have a shame cycle. And so how do you help women get out of the shame cycle?
Well, the first thing we do in our community is work on developing a wellness mindset, health of their bodies through behavior modification. So, the first thing we do is connect to a why, their why. Why are they coming to this? Why do they want to be healthier? And then the second thing we work on is on the limiting beliefs, is unhealthy relationship with their body. We normalize having bad days. We normalize overeating. Sometimes I don't believe in fail-proof strategies. I believe in fail-inclusive strategies. With on that day that you're gonna, eat the whole cake. This is what are you gonna do the day after?
Yeah.
And we release the shame by being caring, loving, and gentle with ourselves, and understanding that a mistake or doing something that goes against our goals one day doesn't mean we're losing momentum or that there's something wrong with us. This language that we use all the time. If I have a piece of fried chicken, I'm bad. No,
Right.
I may not have made the best choice for me, but I'm not a bad person because I had a
Right.
piece of fried chicken.
And that's the thing, right? We take those things and we make ourselves a bad person. So we attach it to what type of person we are instead of saying that choice wasn't the healthiest. And
Mhm.
then not personalizing it to I'm a bad person.
Yeah, when we talk about good and bad food, that's also another language that we try to change. There's foods that you should eat every day, and there's foods you should eat every once in a while. So my everyday choices are heartier whole foods, and my every once in a while choices, are the fried chicken, the ice cream, the pleasure foods that sometimes are needed not for physical health but for mental health.
Yeah,
Pleasure is
right.
a nutrient.
So the marathon, was that about discipline?
Yes. It was about showing myself that I could do something hard. It was a fantasy that I had my entire life. I was never able to run more than a block.
Mm,
And after I released the weight, um, I joined during COVID, or right after the lockdown, I joined a boot camp group in my local park. At that point, everybody was exercising outdoors. And we started warming up by jogging. And the first couple of weeks, I couldn't do it.
mm,
It was really hard. But I found like on week 3, I was running for 5 minutes straight and I wasn't out of breath.
mm.
And I decided to test it out and I ran on my own and I was able to run a mile and a half without stopping. And I just started crying and signed up for New York Road Runners and started training.
As an overachiever, I find that even in my healing, I still overachieve. Do you
Yes.
find that? Yeah.
Yeah. So I have reduced the running now. I did very compulsively run for 3 years, but it was taking too much of my life. And some aspects of it were not super healthy either.
Hard because it's like you find an outlet that is supposedly a healthy outlet. In moderation, it would be, but it's like having to be the best at that or having to prove at that too, right? Like I had this conversation with a guy the other day and I was talking about when I picked up yoga because I think yoga is great to get into your body as well and to get into your alignment. I couldn't just do yoga. I had to become a yoga teacher.
Yeah. Yes, we make everything a project.
So what else do you find is common with the women that you work with?
Perfectionism is an all or nothing mentality. And I think that's one of the reasons many have started a wellness journey and not being able to follow through because they had that one day that they had the fried chicken. They had that one day that they didn't work out, that one day that they overdrank, and that felt to them like they were undoing everything and they just gave up after. So one of the things that we do in our community is teach people that, like I said, feel inclusive. You're gonna have those days. It's about sustainability. It's about trying to be a little better every day. And if you have a day that you take a step back, the next day you try to take 2 steps forward. You don't need to be perfect.
Right. And that's a big deal. Even in my journey now, I just had a day where, I talk with people all of the time. And one person this day, I think I talked with 8 people. One person didn't go the way that I wanted it or thought it should go. And it screwed up the rest of my day and the next day. And I kept thinking to myself, I had 7 people who loved me, but this one person was the one I was stuck on. And then I had to go through my steps of mindset, worthiness, doing my journaling, doing my meditation, and it's exhausting, right? But these are the steps of the things that help when we go into this space. Do you find like that people focus, like you were kind of say, the perfectionism, that gets you out of all the joy of all the other beautiful accomplishments you've had in life?
It happens to me, and I relate a lot to what you just mentioned. I do feel a little sad when I see
Mm.
somebody leave, or when I feel any kind of rejection in any way.
Mm.
But I think I'm becoming emotionally aware enough to understand that that's just a trigger, and that is not true.
Right. I love that too, because I mean, it's not going to not happen, right? But it becomes less personal the more you understand where it's coming from. Like you said, noticing that trigger.
Yeah, and it's my fear of rejection, my people pleasing. Did I do enough? Why are they leaving me? Abandonment issues, that mom and dad divorcing and dad moving out multiple times. Definitely those are triggers.
One thing I also find is that there will be people who say they want to do the work, and then as soon as they start, they freak out and want to quit because it's like, I want to heal, but I really don't want to expose all these wounds that I have.
Yes. So I've been, in this wellness space for just a couple of years, but I became a certified coach about almost 14 years ago. And I remember when I first started booking clients, I will have people pay me for the first month and then ghost me.
Hmm. Yep, I understand that 100%. Yeah.
And it's incredible to see that, or or, or get really close to their goal
Hmm.
and then change the goal
Yep.
when they were right there at the cusp of getting exactly what they had been working on for months.
And
And
that's self-sabotage, right? Like
yes,
that's the I'm not worthy, I'm not enough. I'm going to self-sabotage myself before I actually, right before I get there, right?
yes, yes. And it's interesting. I'm actually reading a book on self-sabotage right now. And what we both share right now about rejection or things not being perfect are identified as some self-sabotage triggers, a
Mhm.
way to bring ourselves down, instead of, enjoying the moment and keeping momentum.
In your journey and in your helping of other people, what do you struggle the most with?
I struggle the most with understanding that my role is less significant than I think. I'm here to work side by side and to facilitate tools for people, but I'm not here to transform them. They have to be already open and ready, and they will use the tools and the tools will work for them, but it is really their journey.
Mm. I love that. I think that that applies to so many various different things. I was just actually talking with a client today and I was telling her because she's a fixer. And I was saying, as you try to fix things for everybody, you're not giving them the opportunity to learn from their experience, right? And so you're robbing them while you're trying to fix them, you're robbing them of the opportunity to learn.
Thank you for that, because as I've been forced to more of a delegator,
Mm.
the more autonomy I give them, the more trust I give them, the more they are able to contribute. It's been beautiful. In them, the delegation is a tool to
Mhm.
grow their capacity of their team and to grow their team, but also as a wellness tool,
Mhm.
because then they can concentrate their energy on the things that only they can do.
Mhm.
I've been doing a lot of strategic work. My role is in partnerships, spending time networking and building partnerships and brainstorming and doing the things that only I can do while the team is taking care of all the other components of the work.
Did you notice, like, when you were overdoing it, that your personal life suffered and that everything became work?
Yes.
Yeah,
And I was also experiencing a lot of resentment because I felt alone and unsupported.
yeah.
So now I know that I'm being overly controlling or not delegating or not allowing other people to help
I
me.
think that's a very good tool because again, as women, we take on multiple roles and wear lots of different hats, and then we end up overdoing it. And then we're like, how come this person's not helping out? You have to step back and say, well, are you giving them the opportunity to help out, or are you just doing it and they don't even have a chance?
And you know what? You'll be surprised because sometimes when you give people the trust and room to put their own spin on things, they will create something way better than you could in a rush way because you're doing way too much. But they have the time to allocate to it and they can do it so much better.
Yeah, you let people do what they're good at and you do what you're good at. And then that's the reason why we have different people, right? We can't do everything. Otherwise, there's no point in having all of these people.
Yeah. And they bring their perspective and enhances the final product.
So we try to always give some sort of a tool that people can implement today. What kind of tool would you offer to the listeners?
A strategic delegation. And this could be not just at the office or the business, this could be at home, not being overwhelmed and alone by choice, because sometimes we do it by choice. Use the resources you have, delegate, ask for help. It's a wellness tool, it's a strategic tool, it's a leadership tool.
Ask for help on something.
Mhm.
Even if you don't need help for it, just or you think you don't, just ask for help.
I was amazed how willing people are to support you if
Mhm.
you ask. It was beautiful.
Mhm. One thing I love about you, just talking to you today, is that you have a calm energy about you. And I think that you are probably very good at what you do because you're open to discussing various different ways of looking at things. So I love that. Thank you.
Well, thank you. I need to be open because if I'm not, then my head is going to get cracked open again. Take care of the health and regulate the blood pressure because the aneurysm is not the problem. The problem is the rupture.
Mm.
And high blood pressure is one of those things that can trigger a rupture. So they can find me by visiting behealthier.com, and that's be like my name, BEA, healthier.com. We are on all this on LinkedIn, IG, and Facebook, also under Be Healthier. And also, I am on IG Wellness Coach B. And yeah, that's how you can find me.
Thank you. We value you. I will put all of your information in your description. Grateful that you do the work that you do and that, we can show up for each other.
Yeah. And you are focusing more on the trauma component. I don't go deep into that, even though I feel that by caring for the body, we are resolving a lot of trauma. The body keeps the score.
Thank you again.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate your time.
And likewise, thank you. If this story spoke to you, let's keep the healing going. Visit barbiemoreno.com for my online course, Awakening Your Worth and Healing Energy sessions, one-on-one coaching, and your free healing guide. Your next step is waiting.